continue on with practical tips for addressing cyber. And what I want to focus on next has to do with contracts. Years ago, we didn't have to worry as much about technical requirements in contracts with your providers, but in this day and age, we absolutely have to. And it's important to communicate that to all of your departments, that even if they think that there's not too many technology implications, if it's a contract that has any type of technology, software solution, or hosting in that contract, then you as the CIO or IT director need to be reviewing that. And the things you need to look for are listed on the screen. Most importantly, there needs to be a clause in the contract that talks to what happens if there's an incident on that provider's side, whether it's on their network or in their cloud. You need to be able to articulate to them what are state requirements or what are county requirements in terms of being notified. Ultimately, if the data that they are hosting or curating or taking care of is breached, you as the county are responsible for those notifications. And so timely notification from the provider to the county is extremely important and needs to be in the contract. Another requirement is that they have completed what's called a SOC Type 2 audit. There's a couple other options, but it seems to be that SOC Type 2 is the most common, and it talks specifically to security practices that the provider should have in place. And that SOC Type 2 is validated by an outside firm, not by the provider itself. Background checks, which I've mentioned earlier, just as they need to be done on your employees, you need to know that your provider of services is conducting those background checks as well and providing that information to you. And then finally, what is their physical security? Over the years, I've seen where providers of case management systems or other services actually had their servers located in their garage or their house. And that's something that we see most getting away from, but we do still see it in place. And so think about the levels of defense that you have in your county for your data center. You know, a locked building, a locked data center room, storage rack that is locked and secure, and then logging into the device itself. Those are layers of defense, and it's important that you know what your provider of technology services has as their layers of defense as well. All right, I just want to focus a little bit on what COVID-19 has brought to our mobile workforce and folks working at home, some tips and things that you should be helping your employees with. Of course, basic security knowledge, those regular communications of, I'm working from home now, what do I need to be concerned about? You want to make sure that they have VPN access and that you are hiding the user's IP address, that the data transfer, of course, is encrypted in transit, masking their location. I'm not here today to go into those details of how to do that, but those are the questions that should be asked and put in place. Of course, antivirus, we've already covered that. And making sure that the devices that they're using are appropriate devices connecting to your network. So typically that's the county-owned device. There are exceptions where I've seen a personal device that's been permitted, and you need to validate or verify in some fashion that they have those same protections on that personal device. And then one other item here, and one which I just did, is run a password audit on all your employees' passwords. That doesn't mean you're going to see what they are, but the audit, the tool, and there are a number of tools out there, will tell you several things. First of all, it will look at the password and it will say whether or not this is already on a deny list somewhere or on a hackers list. It will also tell you whether or not that password has been changed recently, because you should have some sort of process in place that forces employees to change their password every so often. I have seen where IT staff, upon request, make a change to an individual for a valid reason, and then don't go back and reset that. So running a password audit is extremely helpful. And then just a couple items here, reminding employees that make sure that their personal home router isn't using the default password. Also encouraging them to avoid the use of any type of USB drive or USB stick while they're at home. You may already have that drive disabled on the work computer, but if not, just reminding them of that. And also mobile device management. That's has been a hard one for counties because it does cost a little bit of money to have software on those smartphones that allows you to put your county information into what are called containers, so that if the smartphone is stolen, then you can wipe the phone and only wipe the county information. An MDM solution allows you to do that. So if it's not in place in your county, you may want to consider putting that on your roadmap for the near future. Contingency plans, of course, are so important, and we've seen that with COVID-19. But making sure if you didn't have one in place, that you now have a draft of one based on your experience, and that you finalize it and make it, or formalize it and make it more a part of your regular routine to test. And I don't want to forget the importance of, through this whole situation that we're in, that the care of your employees is extremely important, no matter what department that we're in. From a help desk perspective, just continuing to encourage interaction with employees and using video wherever possible will definitely help foster that community of care that we should have for those that we work with. All right, I'm going to shift gears here for a little bit and just talk briefly about some of the things that NACo is providing for technology and specifically cyber. And there are 3 areas that I'm going to cover. The first is the NACo Tech Exchange portal. With my coming on board at NACo last year, one of the goals is, has been and continues to be connecting county CIOs and IT directors together. And we have a discussion group that's set up. We have over 450 now that are members, and it's growing every day. Some of you may have already even received an email inviting you to join, as your association was very gracious in providing us with the list of IT contacts. And what you see in front of you is that portal. I'm going to delve into it a little bit, but let me just talk a bit about the benefits. As you can see, the number has already changed since when I did this PowerPoint. The portal itself has a very rich library of policies, job descriptions. We're working on growing the request for proposals, but of course, we also have best practices. And we are adding each week of several documents. Feel free, once you're a member, to log in and take a look around, and hopefully that will help shorten the amount of time you might have to develop a policy or a job description. We have monthly IT newsletters as well as weekly communications, and we have a number of webinars that we put together on a monthly basis, and at this point we've been doing 2 or 3 a month. And then finally, on occasion, you will see a survey coming from us, coming from NACo, that helps gather technology information. As we look at potential for aggregate programs, we need your feedback and input to know whether that program makes sense. But we also use the information when we're called by reporters, online news resources, asking certain questions about county government or county technology services that are being provided. And we don't identify counties in that process. We may recommend the reporter or the editor to contact a couple counties, but we will always reach out to you first to ask if that's okay. And then the group interaction topics, I just wanted to list several here. They're very robust. On some days, they're quite frequent. On other days, it might not be as busy on the discussion group. We've covered telework, virtual meetings, cybersecurity priorities, and how counties are tackling some of those. We've, of course, covered things related to COVID-19. And we've also had strategic conversations, sharing of plans and strategic outcomes that other counties can look at and tailor and customize for their use as it may make sense within their strategy for technology. So just a screenshot here to show you one other slide within the Tech Exchange. As you can see on the left navigation, there's a number of areas listed. I have the policies highlighted so that you can see into what that looks like. And we welcome policies being submitted so that we can upload them and make them available to all of the county members. The other program I want to talk about is the Cybersecurity Collaborative. And this is a NACo sponsored program that we have formed with the Cyber Risk Alliance. It's a knowledge transfer platform that goes beyond what we have on the Tech Exchange portal. Additional best practices and intelligence from the private community. This particular program connects us with Fortune 500 CIOs and CISOs and really helps broaden and strengthen your cyber defenses. And so if you want more information, when you get this PowerPoint or in this presentation, you'll be able to click on that link and it will take you into the image will take you into the NACo webpage where you can sign up or gather more information. And there are also additional webinars and some live demos that are through this program, as well as peer-to-peer exchange, as I mentioned earlier, specific to Fortune 500 and other private industry technology leaders. I will add that, excuse me, the folks from like Verizon, also Intel, and just think of those major companies out there that we work with on a regular basis. It's their CISOs and their CIOs. And then from a training perspective, I highly encourage you to go to the NACo website and see more information about the Cyber Leadership Cohort. It's a 12-week online course and covers general leadership principles as well as cyber leadership principles. And there are scholarships available for NACo county members. The criteria there is if your county hasn't utilized the scholarship, that it's still available, then you can apply for it. But again, by inquiring, you can get that information from NACo staff. And finally, at a national level, if you do nothing else or have your IT do nothing else when it comes to understanding what's at a national level, these are the two main areas that I would encourage you to take a look at. First of all is the Center for Internet Security, CIS. It's where the MSISAC, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, falls. And we've been working for several years to encourage counties to sign up. Free daily alerts on critical patches and other hacking information that the MSISAC is seeing on a national level comes out very regularly and helps your security folks strengthen their defenses. There's also a weekly email that you get with IP addresses that you need to be blocking because they've been identified as sources for hackers. So if you haven't joined MSISAC or EIISAC, please talk with your IT or take a look at the link and sign up for that. And then the other area is Department of Homeland Security, specifically CISA. They do have similar alerts, but they also have additional resources. Some of them are free. The Cyber Resilience Review that's listed there is an excellent, very lengthy document, but an excellent source for your CIO or your IT staff to go through to see how you compare to what are the priorities when it comes to being resilient for cybersecurity. Another area is the Einstein, the data trends. I encourage you to also sign up for that. Some of the paid services I didn't list here, but Albert Sensor is one where some states are actually providing the Albert sensors for free to counties. Others, there is a cost involved in that. but it's very similar to some of your monitoring tools that counties have in place, such as Splunk. And finally, virtual training environment, free, Fed VTE. Please, if you have the opportunity and have staff that need technical training, I encourage you to log into that site. It's all part of CISA and gives additional knowledge and training for your IT staff. So those are just a few of the national resources that I wanted to share with you today. In closing, we do have a number of webinars coming up, and excuse me, I will make sure that I share those links with your state association. But you also, if you're part of the NACo Tech Exchange, you will get those reminders as well. Elections and ransomware on the 23rd, data governance on the 29th, which will be presentation in combination with a national attorney that's done a lot of work with data governance. And then finally in August, the FirstNet with AT&T, they have a pretty interesting story to share in terms of what they've been providing for support to counties during COVID-19. So I encourage you to sign up for those. And that takes us to the end. As a reminder, in the midst of every crisis, there's a great opportunity. And I believe that we're seeing that now. And I would encourage all of you just instead of thinking about how long is it going to be that we're still in this pandemic, thinking about what are the opportunities that we can take from the situation, turn those challenges into innovation and improving the county posture. So again, thank you for the time that you've allowed me to present to you. And there's my contact information if you have follow-up questions. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Rita. And again, from all of WCA, we really want to thank you for taking the time to speak to everybody and join us in this. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Rita or anybody from WCA staff. We'll be happy to get you some answers. So thank you again.